This is the first prototype. With this version, the approach was to keep things as simple as possible. There are only three things that the owner wants to do on the app: check running status, plan for maintenance, or plan for the next trip. And all of them are three separate tabs at the bottom. And all the trucks are present at the top. And the trucks above this line are the trucks that are currently not on a trip. And the trucks below this line are the trucks that are on a trip. The green tick represents the truck is ready to go on the next trip, and this is the place it's going next to. And the maintenance icon means it's currently under maintenance, and this is the maintenance summary of this particular truck. And if it's on a trip, then the trip details come here, and there's a dotted line representing the distance of the trip, and the position of the truck along the dotted line means how far it has covered on the trip. There's also the distance left and the time remaining for the truck to come back at the bottom. Now let's say you tap on a particular truck, then you get the fluid levels, the tire pressure, water level, and the oil level. Now these are visually represented because that is how the people are used to seeing it, and this is the same for any truck. And going to the maintenance tab, all the trucks are now at the top with the how much time remaining here, so that that can be factored in when planning. And here it shows the distance from right now whenever the next part is predicted to fail. And tapping on a particular part shows the range in which it will fail, and also how much time and cost it will take for maintenance. This gray bar represents the distance to be covered on the current trip. So which means by the time this truck completes the trip it is currently on, it would have covered 1000 kilometers. And let's say if the part is already under maintenance, then the maintenance summary is shown. Now coming to the next trip tab, here all the planned next trips for each of the trucks are shown, and if nothing is selected, then not selected is shown. Let's say I want to select a trip for this particular truck and select destination. Now here we have this location slider because the target users are people who are not comfortable with using a smartphone. I mean inputting on a smartphone. So moving this up and down changes the locations within this place. And the advantage of this is that it it can be used on multiple languages as well, as the location of the places remains the same. Now let's say I tap on a particular location, then I get the recommended service for this particular place, the same for different places. And let's say I select OK, and it also shows the running cost with and without service, and also the risk of breakdown in each case. And then save it, it gets added. This is the second prototype. In this version, we've tried a landscape orientation. Here, the approach is to provide the user as much flexibility as possible to make decisions. Here, we have only two toggles, running and planning. Monitoring the health is a subset of the running tab, and you can access that by tapping on the trucks. So here, the same tick mark and the maintenance icon mean the same things. The next trip, the current trip, and the time it takes for the current trip to end. Tapping on a truck shows the same three levels, and also in addition to that, it shows if there are any faults in other parts. Tapping on a truck under maintenance shows the maintenance summary, the next trip, and also if there are any faults. So if there's any fault, it's shown in red like this. So in this case, there's a fault in the gearbox, and viewing part health shows whatever is monitored in that particular part, how much distance is left for that particular part to be replaced, and also the service history of what all parts were used earlier. This can help the owner to decide what part to buy next. And in case of parts that are multiple in number, then we use the diagram of a chassis to represent them, and the health of each of them is represented within them itself. And tapping on each of them shows how much life is left for them. In the case of parts that are present only one in number and don't have anything inside them to be monitored, just the time for replacement is mentioned in kilometers. Coming to the planning section, we have a calendar here that shows the trips as well as the maintenance schedules on the calendar. This helps owners in identifying at what point in time how much money they need and things like that. So this is the current trip and it lasts for this many days. And let's say I want to select a trip for this particular truck. So here there's 1150 kilometers for the current trip to end, and let's say I select on a part. So servicing this part will cost this much and it will take this much time. Now with that I can go to these many places, and let's say I select place here, then the distance is this much. But let's say I select a place that is not among the recommended here, then it shows me that this part is likely to fail if I continue to the strip, but still the owner can do this and get this added to the schedule, but then it will tell him that this might fail. So the purpose of this being added on the calendar is so that the owner will remember that okay, the app told me and maybe it was right.